Nordic.
California is entering another extreme heat wave of 100-plus degrees in many areas, and that has brought an old fire near Los Angeles back to life, says ABC's Alex Stone.
The line fire in San Bernardino County seemed all but out. It was started allegedly by an arsonist in early September. For weeks, it's been quiet and was nearly fully contained, but in hot weather, whatever embers remained took off on Sunday, and the fire exploded again, putting up a huge plume of smoke. New evacuation warnings are in place.
A huge settlement for federal law enforcement, and sexism was the least of it.
The FBI agreeing to pay more than $22 million to settle a class action lawsuit brought on behalf of female recruits. The lawsuit claims they were singled out for dismissal in training and routinely sexually harassed by their instructors at the FBI Training Academy in Quantico, Virginia. And many of their allegations were confirmed in a 2022 internal watchdog report. The payout to 34 women would be among the largest sexual misconduct settlements in the history of the Bureau. Derek Dennis, ABC News.
A man in Montana pleads guilty to cloning wild Asian sheep to create hybrids for trophy hunting. Prosecutors say they're not seeking a prison sentence for Arthur Schubarth. He's 81. They congratulated him for successfully cloning the endangered Marco Polo sheep, native to Central Asia. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
Good evening. I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU News Update. It's brought to you this hour by Firehouse Subs. Well, Cache County Sheriff's deputies arrested a Logan man on Saturday accused of killing his father. Clayton Shaw was booked early Saturday morning, a day after his father, Dennis Shaw, was found dead near the Franklin Basin parking lot in Logan Canyon. Cache County Sheriff Chad Jensen said investigators have determined that Dennis Shaw's death was a homicide. Jensen said the detectives are asking the public who may have seen anything suspicious to contact law enforcement. Now, they're particularly interested if anyone saw Clayton's black BMW or Dennis's white Ford F-150 truck during the past several days.
Relationships between the two or sightings of the vehicles within the last 48 hours.
Now, investigators do not think there's any other suspects, and there's no evidence to believe the community is in any danger. Jensen expressed appreciation to the public for their help as investigators had to work to bring a quick resolution to this case. He said he realized the temporary closure of the Franklin Basin parking lot was an inconvenience for many people.
The parking lot at Franklin Basin is a busy place any time of year, but specifically this time of year. And when we have to close that parking lot, the public was actually helping us block roads and being more than cooperative and helpful to our investigators and really let them get their job completed in a timely manner. And it's open now back to the public.
Now, Clayton Shaw was arraigned on formal charges in First District Court this afternoon. He is being charged with murder and is being held temporarily without bail. Well, coming up, a Utah representative has proposed a bill that would allow 18 to 20-year-olds to openly carry firearms. That as the news continues as we first check your weather forecast, calling for mostly clear skies as we head into the overnight hours. As temperatures have been in the low 70s today, tonight will drop into the mid to low 40s and then be back into the mid 70s for tomorrow. Overall, it's going to stay right around the mid 70s. We could hit the low 80s on Wednesday, but otherwise more fall-like weather coming for this week, and it looks like it's going to remain mostly clear as we head into October. Well, a newly proposed bill would allow 18 to 20-year-olds to openly carry firearms in most public spaces in Utah and prevent landlords from enforcing lease agreements that bar firearms from the premises. Now, the bill is being sponsored by State Representative Carrie-Ann Lisenby and was presented to the legislature's Criminal Code Subcommittee back on September 16th. Now, since that hearing, the 100-page 101-page legislation has undergone some changes to clarify its purpose. Lisenby said that the bill began as an effort to recodify the outdated and convoluted sections of statute, but has evolved now into a broader effort to address gun rights in the state because some of the current regulations around firearms are contradictory and often confusing. Now, because her proposal makes a series of technical and policy changes, Lisenby said she had presented it to the subcommittee during their September interim session to give her colleagues a chance to review it ahead of the general session in January. And the Weber Fire District is mourning the death of one of their own, a firefighter in the department who was killed last week in an off-road vehicle accident that happened near Thatcher. Now, Colton Naif had died back on Monday when the UTV he was riding along State Route 102 in Box Elder County struck a truck that was hauling a trailer. Now, Naif was ejected from the vehicle in the accident and died at the scene. The Utah Highway Patrol said that Naif had failed to yield the right-of-way for the truck, which had caused the crash. Now, Naif was a wildland firefighter who had previously worked within the Weber County Department and whose father is a battalion chief in the district. The district said in a social media post over the weekend that their hearts are heavy as they lay their brother to rest. You can get more on these and other stories at CashValleyDaily.com. I'm Will Theorite in for Bill Walter with your Monday afternoon news update.
Hey, get prepared for the hunting season. Did you remember to bring your hunting gear, your sleeping bags, and coats into Mount Logan Laundry? With their 55 and 80-pound washers and dryers, they can do any job. And while you're at it, bring in the comforters and blankets and get ready for the colder months ahead. Try Mount Logan Laundry. For a few quarters, you can use their large-capacity washers and dryers and be done in no time. Free Wi-Fi and drop-off service. They're at the corner of 5th East and 9th North in Logan, or in Brigham on the corner of 1st East and 7th South. Mount Logan Laundry really is the cleanest spot in town.
Sean Hannity from 1 till 4 on News Talk KVNU 102 FM and 610 AM.
I'm Larry Gelwigs, the getaway guru for Morris, Columbus Travel and Norwegian Cruise Line, with the biggest cruise promotion of the year, including free open bar, free Wi-Fi, free excursions, free specialty dining, and on select cruises, the third and fourth person sail absolutely free. You just pay the taxes. And for the best travel deals on the planet, give us a call at Morris Columbus Travel.
Come on and get away, Morris Columbus.
Make plans to attend the 3rd Annual Northern Utah Manufacturing Excellence Conference on Wednesday, October 9th. Collaborate with manufacturing leaders and resource experts, enjoy lunch, and a keynote from Paul Nelson, who leads engineering digital transformation for the space system sector at Northrop Grumman. When we strengthen Utah manufacturing, we strengthen Utah's economy. Register today for the annual New Me Conference on October 9th from 8 to 1 at the Cache County Event Center at cashchamber.com. That's cashchamber.com.
Clean it up and get it out before the snow flies. Don't wait another winter. Let DD Auto and Salvage pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles by paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204 today. See store for details.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People, hour 2 of today's show. It is still Monday, September 30th. I'm Jason Williams, kicking things off here with a very special guest joining us in what is, for a lot of reasons, a very strange and possibly confusing election cycle when it comes to the ballot. From items that will be on your ballot for which votes will not be tabulated after a court ruling, and then a backup from the Supreme Court last week regarding Amendment D, to the fact that we have a lot of candidates on the ballot that you maybe saw on your ballot as a registered Republican in the primary in the spring or in a special election. It's been a hectic time in Cache County. So joining us right now to break all of this down, go through the timeline of ballots and everything you need to know in order to cast your vote in this very important election, both local races on up to the presidential race. Joining us now, Cache County Clerk Bryson Behm. And Bryson, it throws me off. It's taken me a while to get in the habit of saying Cache County Clerk, period, and not throw that "and auditor" on. But after years of saying it that way, I'm finally training myself to say Cache County Clerk. But you've been on the job now since April after a special election, thrown right in, drinking from the fire hose, getting ready for a big election. It happens to be a presidential year. How's that going?
It's going great. You know, the team, we're running on all cylinders, and we're just kind of at the moment of like, let's melt, like, can we get over with? Like, we're so prepared that we're just ready.
It's one of the things that makes me proud living in Cache Valley. We have a tendency to run good elections to the point where the state elections office, I know, is telling other counties, look at what Cache County's doing with that election center, with the way they do this. That makes us proud, but there are a few kind of twists in the ballots this year, right?
Yeah, there was a few twists. You know, we have Amendment D that just got struck down from the Supreme Court, so it's going to be on the ballot, but we're not counting those votes.
Sure.
So we just got to strike that down, and, you know, it's always a surprise when it comes to elections nowadays.
That's right. You never know.
Yeah, so we're just going to be, we're just working on our toes, just getting ready for everything. That is,
what always strikes me, Bryson, is the presidential campaign takes up so much energy and air in the room that oftentimes I talk to people who say, I got my ballot and, I didn't know there would be county races on there. I didn't know we had a legislative race with a choice for candidates. And we have them all, right?
Yeah, we have a large ballot. We also have judges' retentions as well. We got the water board, some school boards on there. It's going to be a large ballot front and back. So get ready, Cache County. Sure. We've got a lot of research to do.
That's right. And we'll do our best here to make sure you get a chance to hear from each and every candidate in each and every race between now and the deadline for mailing your ballots. But ballots will start going out soon. We'll talk about that in a bit. Registration deadlines and more that you might want to be thinking about if you haven't checked your registration already. But Bryson, let me ask you this. What happens internally at your office to get ready and beef up for election? I know for we voters, it's just get the ballot, think about it, fill it out, send it back, or put it in a Dropbox. But for all of you, this starts midsummer-ish and doesn't stop until December, right?
Yeah, we are in go, go, go mode. So what we do is we kind of triple our staff to make sure we can get a very smooth election process going. It comes kind of like a quiet office, and all of a sudden here comes summer, and we are just busy.
Sure.
Where to put it.
That is.
So we're super excited to help everybody.
And as I understand it, that includes, training for, the temporary workers that are brought in to work the election. They all have to be trained. And then there's, of course, state mandated up training and more for regular employees. It's a lot. And again, much of that happens behind the scenes where the public, we can easily forget all of that's going on.
That's right. I mean, right now we're currently doing signature verification training for all of our temporary employees, so we can make sure that your ballot is counted and make sure your signature is correct, because we all change our signatures here and there, so we got to do some training about how to read the progression of a signature. We also do training on how to help others fill out voter registration forms to make sure we get all the right information.
Sure.
And so if we're not running an election, we're training for one.
That's right. For listeners, Utah has a nice one-stop shop for all of this, checking your registration, registering for the first time, whatever it might be. And now is the time to do it before ballots start mailing. To avoid any delay in getting your ballot, go to vote.utah.gov. But as Bryson will tell you, you can also, if you're more comfortable, go in person to the clerk's office. There at vote.utah.gov is a list of what Utah considers a qualified ID, identification for registering to vote or changing your registration, whatever it might be. And Bryson, every year it seems there's some kind of a change from the legislature on the election calendar, the timeline of how all this plays out. Except this year. This year we actually get a static timeline, right?
Yeah, knock on wood. Let's hopefully nothing changes.
Yeah, barring an emergency session from the lawmakers, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's really good. Yeah, make sure, for example, I think the most recent one was they changed the postmark date, so before the election, not on the election. So if you want to mail in your ballot, make sure you get that in before, the day before.
Sure.
And, on the sample ballot as well, we have a sample ballot posted on our website. So if people want to see what the ballot is even going to look like, go ahead and look at that. And, come in and say hi if you don't want to register online. I'm more than happy to help you and talk to everybody.
That's that's the convenience of the clerk's office, is that you can go in person, but it is nice to be able to do all of this all online and easily if you choose. But the clerk's office is there for you if you have questions or concern. And Bryson, I'm sure you have a nicer way to say this than I do, but I always say this: don't be like me. Don't put this off, because you'll put it off too long, and then you'll have a problem. Take care of it now, regardless of what your question is, and you'll save yourself headache when it comes to being able to vote this year. Registration deadlines. I know in Utah we allow those who turn 18 on or before Election Day in November can register to vote, even way back in the primary. Are there any other changes to registration this year?
No, other than the voter registration deadline will be October 25th. So if you haven't received your ballot by then, you're more than happy and welcome to register before then, so you can make sure to get that ballot. We're very forgiving if you when it comes to voting. So wait a second, my wife got her ballot, but I didn't. Well, you can come in before out for it. So.
Makes sense. That is, and of course, if you are registering in person at the clerk's office, you do want to bring proper forms of ID, right?
Yeah, make sure you bring your driver's license if you have it. If you don't have a driver's license, you can bring in a photo ID. You can use, then if you don't bring a photo ID, when you do bring a photo ID, make sure you bring proof of residency, so like a utility bill, a bank statement, something so we can make sure you do live here in the county and you get the right ballot.
Sure.
You can use even your concealed carry tribal card. If you're a Native American part of a tribe, that works as an ID as well. For students, you can bring in your student ID. Just bring in that proof of residency as well. So
easy to do. That is.
Yeah.
And Bryson, last question here for you. I hear this every election cycle, but someone will tell me, and I know enough about the elections office and how thorough all of you are from the state level on down to each county. But someone will say, I'm registered to vote. I didn't get a ballot. There's always a reason that happened, right? What are some of the potential reasons, and how can someone make sure that doesn't happen to them?
The biggest one is a lot of people, when they move, they don't update their address with us. So a lot of people think the government's always watching. We're not. We don't know if you move or not.
Sure.
So make sure to update your voter registration when you've moved. A lot of times, for example, in primaries, people will find out I am not registered as a Republican. I'm unaffiliated. So luckily with this election cycle, everyone gets a ballot, so we don't have to worry about party affiliations, and make sure you get it. But the biggest one is make sure your address is complete. If you live in an apartment, make sure you get that apartment number on there, because it's going to get sent right back to us if we don't have the exact address.
Sure. That is great advice, and an easy way to, again, avoid a headache is to take care of all of this now. Vote.utah.gov, or if you prefer to do it in person, head into your county clerk's office, whether you're here in Cache County, listening in Box Elder County. Your clerk's office can answer all of your questions, and again, make sure that you are set up and ready to receive that ballot. and cast your vote in an important election. Again, it's not just the presidential race. We have county races. We have, as Bryson mentioned, we have that water district, school boards. We have a competitive race in downtown Logan with Utah House 3. We have a lot on the ballot, several constitutional amendments that lawmakers have asked you to consider, and judge retention. It is an important thing to do. Our guest, again, has been Cache County Clerk Bryson Behm. And Bryson, appreciate taking some time for us today. And I know your name will be on the ballot as well for re-election, and hope to get a chance to speak to you again soon in a candidate spotlight. We'll have you back on.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Appreciate your time today, laying this out for voters. Again, everything you need to know. We just covered from registration deadlines to what to do to make sure you receive your ballot if you recently moved or any other changes in your life. All of that can be answered, again, at vote.utah.gov, visiting with the county clerk's office. And again, thank you to you, Cache County Clerk Bryson Behm, for taking some time for KVNU today to answer all these questions.
Yeah, anytime. I'm more than happy to answer anyone's questions about elections. I'm an election nerd. So.
I feel you. we have to stay strong.
Yeah.
No, I very much appreciate that. It's an exciting thing, and again, it's for listeners out there, it's a chance for your voice. I just want to remind everyone there was a congressional primary this year in Utah that was decided by a few hundred votes. Who got to represent that district in the United States Congress? A few hundred votes decided that. And that's why casting your ballot is extremely important. I've linked to the clerk's website. You can also just visit cachecounty.org and click on the word clerk there to get all this information and see the sample ballot. Also visit vote.utah.gov for information on registering or checking your registration, an easy place to do that. Or if you prefer, head on down to the Cache County Clerk's office and visit with Bryson and his team there. And Bryson, again, thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll speak again soon. And to listeners, thank you for your time as well for joining us. Stick around. More of For the People after this.
610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
Today's hearing aid technology can improve not only your life, but the lives of the people who care about you. Once again, you'll be able to hear the reason for their laughter and understand conversations. Dr. Paul Danes will customize a hearing improvement program to meet your unique requirements, whatever they are. Call Dr. Danes for an appointment at 753-HERE and let him show you how.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Hello, this is Elise Anderson from Azura Cruise and Travel. We're honored to be named the gold winner for travel agent category in the 2024 Best of Northern Utah. Thank you for believing in us.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shelley Flace with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Parents make all kinds of choices about their child's health. One important way you can protect your child's health is with vaccines. Viruses and bacteria are unpredictable, and even healthy children can develop severe complications.
I'm all done.
By vaccinating, you can feel good that you're doing everything you can to protect your child from harmful diseases. If you have questions about your child's vaccines, talk with your pediatrician and visit healthychildren.org.
The Above and Beyond Salute.
Hello, it's John.
John Cox, this is Will Feelwright from KVNU, calling to give you a $40 gift card to Firehouse Subs.
That's amazing. I just started getting all these text messages this morning.
Someone had contacted us, and this is what they wrote about you. They said you're a great leader, a public servant, and you're an even better person, and you're deserving in every way. So,
Dude, thanks so much. That means a lot. I appreciate it.
The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs on News Talk KVNU.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Great question from a listener coming in here. I wish you had sent this message via the Google chat. Well, Bryson was still with us. I'll shoot him an email, though, and see if we can get an answer in his own words. I can answer in my words. Listener asks, so we were joking there with Cache County Clerk Bryson Behm that we were talking about the reason someone might not receive their ballot. I hear this from a handful of people every election cycle. I'm registered to vote. I never got my ballot. Now, sometimes I know that it's like me when I, there was a time, this was a long time ago. Okay, it wasn't as long ago as I would like it to be, but there was a time when I forgot that I had switched a reminder on my car registration to come via email, and instead of that little card, because I'm, I don't need a piece of paper. I'm digital. I do everything online, and and plus save trees, and save the state some money of my money, but I forgot, and it was about 10 days after the end of the expiration month for me. I was actually here at the station. I walked out, and I happened to walk behind my vehicle that day before getting in it to drive home. And I looked at that sticker, and I'm like, oh, wow. My vehicle registration expired last month, and we're 10 days into the new month. And, of course, in my mind, the first thing I thought was, I never got that card. And I didn't, because I'd intentionally signed up to get the email instead, and then I hadn't noticed the email. That happens with ballots. And so when someone says, I didn't get my ballot, I'm registered to vote, but I didn't get my ballot, I think a good chunk of the people who say that are like me, or maybe like you. Maybe they did get their ballot. They got shuffled in with some other mail. Maybe it ended up on the kitchen table for too long and was stained and soiled with food and beverage and got tossed into a recycling bin or shredded. But a lot of folks, as Bryson mentioned, and to answer this listener's question, which is why the state can't. So when we're talking about this, Bryson mentioned that, what they see, what he sees as clerk, what the state sees. We talked to Ryan Calley of the state elections office about this once too. He said the same thing. The typical reason a person who says, I'm registered to vote, but I didn't get my ballot is they moved and they forgot to update their registration. Or they did and it wasn't in time. And those are the primary reasons that someone doesn't get their ballot if they are registered to vote. There can be rare, very rare errors at a clerk's office in which a ballot isn't mailed to a certain voter. And you can contact the clerk's office and they can check to see where your ballot is. They have a way of tracking your ballot. So if your ballot has not been returned, it's considered a non-vote. If your ballot has been returned, but it wasn't you, that is voter fraud, and it's caught quickly. And by the way, if you fill out someone else's ballot here in Utah, that is a crime, and that can potentially be a federal crime, depending on the circumstances. It's a pretty big deal. So don't fill out someone else's ballot and fake their signature. If it comes to your house and you just moved there, what you want to do if you have just moved somewhere and you receive someone else's ballot is see if you can contact that voter and let them know that they didn't update their address with the state elections website. Easy to do, vote.utah.gov, and that they should do so. Take their, if you can get their ballot to them, they can take the ballot that was mailed to them to the clerk's office. It will be destroyed, and a new ballot will be printed for them with the correct address. And everything will be fine. But so if you just moved into an apartment, for example, and one day in the next couple of weeks you get someone else's ballot, if you can reach that voter, great. If you can't, take it to the clerk's office and they'll take care of it from there for you. That's the nice thing to do. If you're not nice, you can just toss it in the recycling or the shredder and hope they figure it out on their own when they don't get their ballot. That's the not nice thing to do. But if you're registered to vote and you didn't get your ballot, odds are you forgot to update your address. And a listener, in response to the county clerk saying that, he said, why can't, so Bryson joked, look, everybody thinks the government tracks us everywhere, but we actually don't. And a listener says, why can't they track this kind of thing? And then in parentheses, sincere question. They could technically. There are states with like automatic voter registration when you get your driver's license. And then if you move, you're supposed to update your driver's license, but many people don't still. It's illegal not to, but many people don't. And for at least some time. And especially if it's a person who moves a lot, like a student. The other reasons, just absolutely forgetting to update your information. But yeah, I mean, is it possible that through driver's licenses, through, utility bills, the state elections office could track this and see if a person moves? Yeah, I mean, technically it's possible, but you'd need an entirely new state agency to do that, with probably, I would say, 25 to 50 full-time employees. So that's a lot of additional taxpayer expense to do that. A far cheaper way to go about this is for all of us as voters to take the responsibility to, every election cycle at least, which is, every year, go to vote.utah.gov and do it in the spring, not the fall, and just take 30 seconds to check your registration. It's easy. You enter your name and address. It tells you how you're registered, what address you're registered at, and asks you if you want to change that. Again, 30 seconds, maybe a minute and a half at most. So far cheaper than creating a new state agency to track compared to driver's license records and utility bills and voter registration and all of that. I get it. Voting is a right enshrined in the Constitution. We should do everything we can, and taxpayer expense should be spent. I think it's a worthwhile use of taxpayer dollars to spend money, whether it be salaries for state employees or county employees or whatever it might be, to make it easy for people to vote, to allow people to correct errors and vote. That is a worthwhile expense. Worthwhile use of taxpayer dollars, don't get me wrong. But, again, to track voters who move, to keep voter rolls updated that way, you would need an entirely new state agency with, and maybe I'm being too conservative with my 25 to 50 full-time employee estimate. It might be more than that, but I would say at least that. So, yeah, a lot cheaper just for all of us to make it, every spring. Just go in, vote.utah.gov, type your name and address, and make sure everything's current and updated. It's easy to do. Some people, honestly, I know several people who make this their New Year's Day tradition. Sometimes in the morning, sometimes at 12:01 a.m., sometimes later on the evening of New Year's Day. It's their tradition to check their voter registration, make sure everything's current and up to date. Good idea. We'll be back with more of KVNU's For the People on the other side of the news with KVNU's We'll Feel Right.
Well, thank you, Jason. The news this hour is brought to you by Quality First Insurance. The Utah Jazz have picked up the fifth-year option for Coach Will Hardy's contract. Now, Hardy originally signed a 4-year deal with the Jazz back in 2022 that included a team option for a fifth season. The move will now keep the 36-year-old coach with Utah through the 2026-27 season. Now, entering his third season with the Jazz, Hardy has a record of 68 wins and 96 losses and no postseason appearances. Now, Jazz CEO Danny Ainge said that he loves the direction the team is going and he loves the direction that Hardy is going. Of course, Utah traded away All-Stars Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell before Hardy coached his first game, and the team has undertaken an extensive rebuilding process during his tenure. Now, before coming to the Jazz, Hardy had stops as an assistant coach in both Boston and San Antonio. He is the second youngest head coach in the NBA. Well, a recently sparked wildfire burning rapidly in the U.S. Forest Service's Heber-Camas Ranger District continues to spread. According to the Utah fire officials, the Yellow Lake Fire, which is located south of Mill Hollow Reservoir in the Uinta-Wasatch Cache National Forest, was discovered over the weekend on Saturday. Now, by yesterday, Utah Fire Service officials reported that the fire was at approximately 130 acres. Now, 4 air tankers, 5 engines, 2 helicopters, and 2 firefighting crews are on the scene working to try to get the blaze under containment. Nearby campgrounds have also been evacuated as a precaution. And International Olympic Committee leadership have been touring the Beehive State in preparation for the 2034 Winter Games. Now, IOC President Thomas Bach said during an address at the Grand America Hotel over the weekend that he has beautiful memories of the 2002 Winter Olympics in Utah, and he's looking forward to 2034. Now, this is the first time that Bach has visited Utah since the 2002 Games. Back in July, Salt Lake City and Utah were awarded the 2034 Winter Olympics and Paralympic Games. This past weekend, IOC leadership learned more about Utah's vision and commitment to the upcoming Games. Now, Fraser Bullock, resident and CEO of the Salt Lake City, Utah Committee for the Games, said that having them see the beautiful state of Utah and the fantastic people firsthand was a special opportunity to share. Fox said he is happy to see Utah is already embracing the excitement of the 2034 Winter Olympics. Well, we've had clear skies today, a little bit more fall-like weather as we finish up the month of September. And as we head through the rest of the afternoon and into the night, it's going to remain clear. Temperatures are going to drop into the mid-40s overnight, then be into the mid-70s for tomorrow, low 80s coming for Wednesday. But looks like it's going to remain clear with no chance of any showers in the next 7 days of the forecast. I'm Will Feelwright with your KVNU News Update.
ABC News, I'm Chuck Sievertson. Breaking news, Pete Rose is dead, confirmed in the Las Vegas area. Legendary, much-honored, record-breaking, and scandalized Major League ballplayer, nicknamed Charlie Hustle, played in the 1960s and into the 80s, notably for the Cincinnati Reds. Rose was banned from baseball when accused of betting on games. He later admitted it. Pete Rose was 83. More breaking news, the Israeli military says it's begun a limited, localized ground offensive against Hezbollah militant targets in southern Lebanon. Widespread devastation left behind by Hurricane Helene across the south, over 130 deaths. President Biden angered by Donald Trump saying that he, Biden, was not in contact with Georgia Governor Brian Kemp about storm response.
He is lying. Let me get this straight. He's lying. And the governor told him he was lying. The governor told me he was lying.
White House says its officials are in touch with the Union of East and Gulf Coast dock workers and companies to avoid a strike. This is
Roof Rescue is your local roof specialist, dedicated to keeping your home safe and dry no matter the weather. Their team of experienced roofers is here to serve you, providing top-quality service at affordable prices. From minor repairs to complete roof replacements, they've got you covered. Remember, your roof is your first line of defense in protecting your family from the elements. So don't wait until the next storm to discover your roof problems. Call Roof Rescue today at 435-999-4268. They're your trusted local roofing experts, here to keep your home safe and dry. Roof Rescue, celebrating 10 years of providing watertight peace of mind.
Hi, John Weiss here. Fall is such a beautiful but busy time of year. Whether you're juggling fall sports schedules, hitting the trails to hunt, or coordinating the annual tailgate, you need a vehicle that can do it all. During our Ram Power Days, you'll get $2,000 total bonus cash allowance when you purchase a brand new 2024 Ram heavy-duty tradesman truck. See dealership for details. This season, find a reliable ride at Heritage Auto, your hometown dealer with the biggest deals.
Hey, thrill seekers, we know you love your toys. From boats to dirt bikes, your adventures are what keep life exciting and risky. Every adventure comes with the risk of unexpected disasters. This is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance, an Allura Group company. As an independent auto owner's insurance agency, we understand the risks you face. Our agents will ensure you get the coverage that suits your unique needs. Keep the thrill alive and worry-free by calling Quality First today. 435-752-0101.
News Talk KVNU will bring you the Saturday and Sunday sessions of General Conference for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The conference will air Saturday and Sunday from 10 until noon and 2 till 4. Listen live at 102 FM, 610 AM, and online at kvnutalk.com and on the KVNU mobile app. General Conference is provided as a public service of News Talk KVNU, the voice of Northern Utah.
I have seen the morning burning golden on the mountain in the sky.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Little tribute here to Kris Kristofferson. Two big names in the pop culture, sports, and music world. And that is Pete Rose, you heard during the news break there from ABC News. Pete Rose, at age 83, has died over the weekend. We got news that Saturday, news was out Sunday, but we learned that Saturday, singer-songwriter Kris Kristofferson died at the age of 88. He was born in Brownsville, Texas, June 22nd, 1936. And as country musicians go, he was, I think, somebody who not only had a big impact on me, he was the first real country musician that I just absolutely couldn't get enough of his music, and that was quickly followed by a years-long obsession with Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson, and of them all, Willie's the only one left. And this was, I don't know. He had just a really interesting life. He was an Oxford scholar in high school, was a defensive back on the high school football team, worked for years as a bartender. He'd been a Golden Gloves boxer. I had to look this up because I had no idea what this was when I first learned this about Kristofferson when I was reading about him once in a biography that was written by a famous Rolling Stone journalist. But he was referred to as a one-time Gandhi dancer. And I'm like, what is a Gandhi dancer? And do I really even want to know, actually, what a Gandhi dancer is? But it's actually a slang term for railroad worker in the United States. I didn't know that, and I learned that by reading about Kristofferson. But in this biography that was published about him, he was referred to as a one-time Gandhi dancer. But apparently that's what, in the old-timey days, what they used to call railroad workers. So he'd been a boxer, a bartender, a railroad worker. He was a forest fighter. He did, Representative Casey Snyder organizes and heads up these teams of volunteer firefighters and professional firefighters to go out and fight wildfires. Kristofferson did that every summer for many, many years. He was a road crew worker. He was an Army Ranger, actual helicopter pilot. He had this amazing biography of experience, and you'd never know any of this really from his music because he sang about broken hearts and love and dating and things like that. But yeah, he just had this really cool experience. But he was what was known as a peacenik. That was a term for military veterans who had become, especially post-Vietnam and during Vietnam, very anti-war. And the peaceniks were a headache for the warring class, the neocons, as they weren't called yet, but would be soon, because they were veterans. They couldn't easily be attacked like, some celebrities could be in the news for opposing the Vietnam War or leading protests to get America out of Vietnam. But these military veterans like Kristofferson were more difficult. You couldn't just scoff at them as dirty hippies on the news because they were veterans. They served. And Kristofferson was a very vocal and at that time celebrity member of that anti-war movement. He was an actor. He was in a few movies, a few different movies. And, of course, he had a large family. He had many kids. But he was, and this is a little Kristofferson trivia for those who don't think I've already spent too much time on him. But he was just kind of a hero of mine. He almost came right up against being a teacher at West Point. It was all in line, and this is when his music career began, actually. And he wrote about this in his own, autobiographical essays. He never wrote an autobiography book, but he wrote some autobiographical essays, and they were published years ago. But he wrote about this summer. He'd wanted to be a teacher, and being, having served as a member of the military, he wanted to teach at West Point, and that was all lined up. They'd accepted him. He'd gotten the job. And then in the summer, before he was to teach at West Point, to start teaching at West Point, he got an invitation in response to something he'd thrown out years before to a producer in Nashville, and changed his mind. Instead of teaching at West Point, he let them know, hey, I'm not coming, find someone else, and instead moved to Nashville and ended up for quite some time homeless and poor as a songwriter and singer in Nashville. But his career took off after Sam Peckinpah cast him as Billy the Kid. And then Willie Nelson actually helped a lot by re-recording an entire album of nothing but Kristofferson penned songs. Kristofferson is actually more famous for songs he wrote for other famous people than his own music. But many people don't know that it's a Kristofferson song. But he made some very well-known celebrities out of musicians through songs that he wrote. He was also a writer. Atlantic Monthly would regularly publish his short stories, fiction. And for a time he wrote those under a pen name. But yeah, he was this really interesting character. And then when you would hear him sing, he was just that archetype of that gravelly voice country singer. But he had this really eclectic life. He sang a lot about work ethic. And in an interview once, I remember this, he said at a really early age, work ethic was celebrated by his parents. And when he was a teenager, he remembered a supervisor when he was working construction as a teenager during summers, during high school. He said he remembered a supervisor told him he was one of the best workers on the construction crew. And he said, that felt really good. He said at a time when a lot of my friends were starting to dabble with drugs and staying out all night, even though their parents had put in a curfew, he said that he feels like that one compliment from a supervisor on the construction crew he was working on that summer as a junior, when he was a junior in high school, he said he feels like that kind of turned his life around a little bit. And I went and found this. The quote is, he said, "I took pride in that. Not pride in being better than my coworkers who were by that time, the end of summer, all friends of mine that I'd met on the job." He said, "I took pride in the fact that I was a guy who could reliably dig ditches the fastest, that the supervisor could rely on to finish a job, even if the supervisor was busy elsewhere." And he said, something inside of me made me want to do more of that. And I started seeking out doing tough stuff on the job when I came back the next summer. But he said part of it is that I like the challenge, but another part of it was being that guy, being the guy that others could rely on. I thought that was a pretty cool quote. So he also came from a military family. He was the son of a major general, and who married a kind of a social justice warrior, Kristofferson's mom. So he kind of grew up with, he said, two very, very different worlds. His mother ended up as an attorney working on civil rights cases and ACLU-like lawsuits against overreaching state law and things like that. And his father was a major general. And so he said it was interesting to him, those two different worlds colliding in his home, but he said it was a happy home. He did end up in 1960 finally getting a master's degree and then went back to California, married his high school sweetheart before joining the Army. When he went back to California and in the Army learned to fly helicopters, he said after that he was too happy to write sad, depressing country music. So he started writing more funny songs like the Hank Williams style country. And he said that, kind of earned him a following in what was popular at the time, the Bob Dylan crowd, the beatnik crowd. He was a peacenik, which is a military veteran who is protesting war. And he said he found himself embraced by the beatnik crowd, who were really into Bob Dylan at the time when he started writing kind of the more funny country music. He said his life was just too good to be sad. Yeah, it was kind of interesting, but it was a lengthy career, and it was a person who just kind of went in and out of fame. Probably one of the most famous songs by Kris Kristofferson. No one ever realizes, except real music historians, amateur historians, that it was penned by him. But Janis Joplin's "Me and Bobby McGee." I think most people who appreciate, the classics know Janis Joplin's song, but I'm always surprised by people who don't know that it was actually a Kris Kristofferson song first. He wrote it, and then allowed her to sing it. His most famous album of all time was called "The Silver-Tongued Devil and I." It came out in 1971. And that album was the closest he got to a mega best-selling album. And after that, he kind of slipped back into what he called familiar obscurity. But he was able to support himself and his family and raise several kids on the money he made, both writing and writing music and performing music. He never stopped touring until the last 2 years of his life, when he was not able to do it as easily, but he still played some live shows. Even in the final year of his life here in 2024, he played a couple of live shows. And Kris Kristofferson passed away Saturday at age 88. And just wanted to spotlight him here on the show because this is, if you're a fan of country music, that crowd, that there was a group of them, I have a friend who calls it the Poncho and Lefty country years, and that kind of sums it up. But it was Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, and Kris Kristofferson. And those four, as hard as they were to categorize, because if you listen to their music, sometimes you hear more Bob Dylan and hippie folk than you do country. Other times you can hear more of like a poppy singer-songwriter than you do country. But because they had a twang in their voice, or because their recording band or touring band had a slide guitar, they got thrown in with country music. And in the end, mainly because record companies didn't know where else to put these four, Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, and Kris Kristofferson, no one else knew what to do with them. So the producers just threw them in and labeled them country. And the unexpected result of that is the four of them ended up changing country music forever. It's just an amazing history in music. Even if you're not a country music fan, this was a pivotal time in music. So just a little recognition of Kris Kristofferson. Here, again, announced Sunday by his family that he'd passed away Saturday at the age of 88 after a really influential career, even though, again, a lot of people didn't know those songs you loved were his. We'll be back right after this.
Are you in need of excellent surgical care? Budge Clinic General Surgery offers the future of surgery with state-of-the-art robotic-assisted procedures. From cancer treatments to surgical needs, they've got you covered. Call Budge Clinic General Surgery today, 435-716-1950, to schedule a consultation and experience the best possible outcome. Trust Drs. Anderson, Marshall, McKenna, and Peterson, the experts at Budge Clinic General Surgery, helping people live the healthiest lives possible.
I'm Larry Gelwicks, the Getaway Guru, with Morris Columbus Travel and Apple Vacations, with double discounts on your air and hotel packages to the sunny beaches of Hawaii and Mexico, to Europe and the Caribbean, and you save like never before. And for the best travel deals on the planet, give us a call at Morris Columbus Travel.
Come on and get away, Morris Columbus.
From all of us at Back at Work Physical Therapy, we're honored to be named the silver winner for Best Physical Therapy in the 2024 Best of Northern Utah. It's all thanks to our incredible team and loyal patients and providers. Thank you.
The Aggies begin conference play Saturday as they travel to Boise State to face the Broncos.
It's going to be a fun game, sold-out atmosphere already, and going against one of the best players in the country. So we know we got things we got to improve on. Starts with ourselves, and just gearing up for this big game.
Pre-game begins at 4, kickoff is at 5, and post-game and Aggie call immediately follows the game. It's the Aggies and the Broncos, Saturday afternoon on News Talk KVNU, the Heritage Home for the Aggies.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Coming up this week on For the People candidates, we'll speak with Jason Thompson, current River Heights mayor running for Utah House 3 to replace retiring State Representative Dan Johnson. We'll speak with some of the county council candidates. We've got county candidates. We've got school board candidates. We've got water district candidates. So we're going to try and get to them all here, as we did in the primary here in the general election, try and speak to everyone. And that means we've got to start in the first week of October. So also later on in the week, we'll speak with Jamie Andrus, CEO and president of the Cache Chamber of Commerce. They have a really big event coming up in October, also working with CAPSA, as the county is doing, on the Light the Night event tomorrow night at the county courthouse. We'll talk about it all. It's a big week. But wrapping up today's show on a lighter note with the vice presidential debate tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on CBS. You can also hear it here. I wanted to spotlight this because I forgot to during the presidential debate that happened last month, which, as I'm understanding, it will be the only one with the candidates not being able to agree on a second one. It looks like this vice presidential debate tomorrow night will be it for debates this cycle, which, that's all right. There's other ways to get to know the candidates, I think, but a lot of people don't know this. I didn't know this for a long time. I thought it was myth. It's not. In 1956, that was the first time there was ever a nationally televised presidential debate. But what was interesting about that debate in 1956 is neither actual presidential candidate was at the event. It was more of a big TV event because TV was still kind of new, but at this point it was considered in every living room. And instead of Democratic nominee Adlai Stevenson and Republican incumbent Dwight Eisenhower, they both sent surrogates. Stevenson sent Eleanor Roosevelt, of all people, a big choice there, one-time First Lady herself and well-respected in the Democratic Party still at the time. And Eisenhower sent Margaret Chase Smith, a Republican senior senator from Maine. On November 4th, 1956, on an edition of Face the Nation on CBS, days before the election, they squared off. And, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Now, again, this wasn't the first presidential debate. This was the first nationally televised presidential debate. And if you'd like to see video of that, what Americans saw in their living rooms for the first time, I've linked to it on our Facebook page. It's kind of an interesting little bit of history there. But with the vice presidential debate tomorrow in mind, there you have it. I'm wrapping up today's show on a little lighthearted trivia. I hope you'll be with us tomorrow. Again, we'll be getting to candidates this week. We've got check-in with the Cache Chamber of Commerce on a big event they have coming up for National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. USU researchers on what to do with your garden. We've got a lot. So it is a busy week. I hope you'll be with us every day. Stick around, though. Dave Ramsey is next here on KVNU Logan.